The galaxy was full of stars, planets, and strange wonders, but not every corner was kind. In one silent region, far away from the busy trade routes, a lonely moon circled around a dying red star. The surface of the moon was cracked, dry, and filled with sharp rocks. Nothing green grew there, and no rivers flowed. It was a place where only storms of dust and silence existed. Yet on this forgotten world, something small moved. Something alive. The creature was not tall or powerful. It was only a dog. At least, that was what humans would later call it. But to the alien race that had left it there, it was nothing but a mistake. Its legs were short, its body looked awkward, and its face seemed wrinkled in strange ways. It had no shining fur or graceful movement. It was in their eyes ugly. These aliens, the Zorath, were known across the stars. They were tall, with silver skin and eyes that glowed faintly blue. Their empire stretched across hundreds of planets, and they believed beauty meant strength, while imperfection meant weakness. For thousands of years, they had bred animals only for appearance. Their pets were always elegant, bright, and shaped to match their pride. But one day, something went wrong. Among the litters of their genetically designed creatures, a pup was born that did not look perfect. Its fur was patchy, its ears uneven, and its little eyes held no glow like the others. The Zorath scientists called it a failure. They did not want to kill it themselves, for they considered that beneath their honor. Instead, they carried the small dog to this empty moon, dropped it on the surface, and left without a second glance. To them, it was already forgotten. The little dog wandered across the cold rocks, hungry and thirsty, whining softly into the endless night. Its paws were cut from sharp stones, but still it moved. It did not know why it was alive or why it was alone. All it knew was that it wanted to find someone, anyone, who would not turn away. Far across the galaxy, a small human ship named Aurora's Light was traveling through the same region. It was a simple exploration vessel, not a warship or a great freighter. The crew numbered only 6 people, led by Captain Elias Grant, a man in his 40s with sharp eyes and a calm voice. Humanity was still new in the grand theater of space. Compared to the Zorath, humans had only explored a small part of the galaxy. Many alien races saw them as weak, curious newcomers with little power. Yet humans had one strength that was not often noticed. They cared. They cared about things other species ignored. The Aurora's Light had suffered minor damage from a passing meteor storm. Its engines were functional, but the outer hull needed repair. Captain Elias decided to land on the lonely moon to make quick fixes before continuing the journey. The crew descended, setting the ship down near a flat valley of stone. It was then that they heard the sound. At first it was faint, almost hidden by the wind. A weak bark, a cry carried across the dry air. Lieutenant Mara Chen, the ship's engineer, tilted her head. "Captain," she said, "do you hear that?" Elias frowned. "Out here? Impossible. There's no life registered on the scanners." But the sound came again, higher, desperate. Against all reason, it was the cry of a small animal. The humans grabbed their lights and followed the noise. Among the rocks, shivering and limping, they found the dog. Its fur was matted with dust, and its ribs showed through its thin body. When the humans approached, it wagged its tail slowly, too tired to bark again. Mara gasped. It's a dog, or at least something like one." Elias crouched down, his armored boots pressing against the stones. The little creature looked up at him with tired eyes, full of hope and fear. Elias extended his hand and the dog licked his glove weakly. "He's starving," Elias said softly, "but he's still trying to trust us." The humans lifted the creature gently and carried it back to the Aurora's Light. Inside the warm ship, they gave it water and small bits of food. The dog ate eagerly but carefully, as if it feared the gift might vanish. The crew laughed softly as they watched. "Look at him," said Dr. Samir Patel, the ship's medic. "He may not be handsome, but he's tough. Surviving out there alone, that takes spirit." They decided to call him Rusty because of the reddish patches of fur hidden under the dust. Rusty quickly began to follow them around the ship, wagging his crooked tail. He was not graceful, but his loyalty was clear. Every time the crew worked, Rusty stayed near, watching them with bright eyes. For the humans, it was a simple choice. Where other species saw an ugly mistake, they saw a companion. Where others abandoned, they rescued. Rusty was no longer alone. But while the crew felt joy, they did not know the storm they had awakened. Far away on a shining Zorath capital world, whispers began to spread. A patrol ship had noticed human signals from the barren moon. The Zorath leaders dismissed it at first. Humans were always exploring strange places. But then one scientist reviewed old records. That moon was where they had abandoned the failed dog. If humans had found it, what would they do? Why would they take interest in something worthless? The Zorath were proud and cold. Yet deep in their history, they remembered faint warnings about the creatures they had once altered. There were stories that the so-called ugly ones carried strange instincts. They could sense things, unlock doors no hand could open, and call to ancient machines buried under stone. The Zorath had hidden those tales, fearing they might be true. If humans had found the abandoned dog, the leader of the Zorath Council narrowed his glowing eyes. "Send watchers," he ordered. "If the humans protect the creature, we must know. We cannot allow an imperfection to become their strength." And so, while Rusty slept safely inside the Aurora's light, his small body warm at last, unseen eyes already turned toward him. The galaxy did not yet know, but the fate of empires had begun to shift, because humans had chosen to love what others threw away. The Aurora's light drifted quietly through the black sea of stars. Inside, the crew worked on daily tasks, repairing the last bits of damage from the meteor storm. Yet something new had become part of their routine. Rusty. The little dog followed them everywhere. When Captain Elias walked through the ship's corridor, Rusty padded along behind him. When Lieutenant Mara fixed the engines, Rusty curled up near her feet, his ears twitching at every sound. When Dr. Patel checked his medical notes, Rusty rested his head on the doctor's lap. The crew smiled at the presence of the animal. He brought a warmth they had not realized was missing. Space travel was long and lonely, but Rusty filled the silence with small barks, wagging tail, and simple trust. Still, there was something strange about him, something none of them could yet explain. The first warning one-night cycle, when most of the crew slept, Elias stayed in the control room checking navigation charts. Rusty lay beside his chair, breathing softly. Suddenly, the dog jumped to his feet, growling. His ears pricked up, his body stiff. Elias frowned. "What is it, boy?" Rusty barked once, sharp and urgent. Then he ran to the main control panel and scratched at it. Elias checked the radar. At first, nothing. Just empty space. But then, a sudden flash appeared. A micrometeor storm heading straight for the ship. Elias shouted into the comms, "All crew, brace for impact." The Aurora's light shifted course just in time, avoiding the worst of the storm. If not for the early warning, the ship might have taken heavy damage. When the danger passed, Elias looked down at Rusty. The dog wagged his tail proudly, as if he knew what he had done. Elias knelt and scratched behind his ears. "You saw it before the computers did," Elias whispered. "How is that possible?" Unlocking the ruins a few days later, the Aurora's light entered orbit around a barren planet with strange ruins on its surface. The crew had come here for research. Old reports claimed the ruins were older than any known empire. The Zorath had once studied them but never found their secrets. The humans landed near the largest ruin, a black stone structure half buried in sand. Strange symbols glowed faintly across its walls, written in a language no one could read. "This could be a treasure of knowledge," Dr. Patel said with excitement. But when Mara tried to open the main gate with scanning tools, nothing worked. The stone door stayed shut as if mocking their efforts. Hours passed. The crew grew frustrated. Then Rusty padded forward. He sniffed at the stone, tilted his head, and gave a long, strange howl. The sound echoed against the ruins, low and deep. Suddenly, the glowing symbols lit up brighter, and the massive stone gate trembled. With a loud rumble, it opened. The humans froze in shock. Did the dog just open an ancient alien ruin?" Mara asked, wide-eyed. Rusty wagged his tail and trotted inside as if it were the most normal thing in the world. Inside, the ruins were filled with machines and crystal lights that had been asleep for millions of years. When Rusty walked near them, they flickered awake. Panels glowed, screens lit up, and hidden pathways opened. Wherever the dog went, the ruins responded. The crew followed, recording everything. But in their hearts, they knew this was not just luck. Rusty was connected to something far greater. Whispers of the galaxy word of the humans' discovery spread faster than they realized. Other explorers, spies, and traders carried rumors. Humans found a strange beast. It can control lost technology. It is the ugly creature the Zorath abandoned. In the Zorath capital, the council grew uneasy. They remembered old warnings about the imperfect ones. If such a creature bonded with humans, it could give them power the Zorath had never unlocked. The Zorath leader ordered silence. The humans must not know what they hold, but we will watch them, and when the time comes, we will take the creature back. The ambush 2 weeks later, the Aurora's light stopped near a neutral trade station to refuel. Rusty sat at the viewport watching the glowing ships dock and depart. He barked at every new sight as if greeting the universe itself. But not all visitors were friendly. A group of mercenaries entered the station with quiet steps, their orders secret: capture the human's strange dog. That night, while the crew loaded supplies, the mercenaries attacked. Blasters fired, alarms rang, and chaos filled the docking bay. Elias and his team took cover, returning fire with hand rifles. Rusty, instead of hiding, ran forward. He barked fiercely at the attackers. Then, to everyone's shock, a wave of invisible force pushed from his small body. The mercenaries staggered back as if struck by unseen hands. One dropped his weapon, another crashed against a wall. The humans seized the chance, driving the mercenaries away. After the fight, Elias knelt by Rusty, who panted heavily but wagged his tail. You saved us again," Elias whispered. "You're more than just a dog, aren't you?" The crew agreed. Rusty was not ordinary. He had senses, powers, and connections beyond their science. Loyalty tested back on the ship, Dr. Patel scanned Rusty carefully. Strange energy signatures flowed through his body, hidden deep in his cells, patterns unlike any known species. "It's as if his very DNA carries a code," Patel said. "Something designed or maybe something ancient. Whatever he is unique." Elias thought about the Zorath. If they abandoned Rusty, maybe they feared what he was. But humans did not fear him. They had chosen to care for him no matter what. Rusty seemed to understand. He curled beside Elias's chair, his eyes soft and trusting. "Don't worry," Elias said, placing a hand on his head. "We won't let anyone hurt you. Not while we're alive." Rumors grow across the galaxy, the story spread wider. Aliens who once ignored humans now whispered their name. The humans protect the abandoned dog. They risk their lives for him. Maybe they see what we do not. Some races began to admire humans for their loyalty. Others grew fearful. And the Zorath? Their anger grew. They could not allow a single imperfect creature to change the balance of power. Plans for war began to form, but the humans did not care about politics. For them, Rusty was family, and family was worth any risk. That night, as the ship sailed once more into the endless dark, Rusty stood by the viewport. He lifted his head and howled softly, a sound that seemed to echo far beyond the hull. The crew listened, a chill running through them. It was almost as if the howl was not only a sound but a call reaching something ancient, something waiting in the shadows of the galaxy. Whatever it was, Rusty had awakened it, and soon the universe would respond. The Aurora's light traveled through the galaxy with its small crew and their unusual companion. Life on board had become different since Rusty joined them. The once quiet ship was now alive with barks, wagging tails, and sudden bursts of laughter whenever the little dog did something silly. Yet behind the joy, a shadow grew. Rumors of Rusty had spread farther than the crew realized. What began as whispers in trade stations soon reached powerful ears. To some, the story of a strange dog able to open ruins and sense danger was fascinating. To others, it was dangerous, and to the Zorath Empire it was unacceptable. Zorath's fear in the great silver halls of the Zorath capital, the council gathered. They sat around a circular chamber, their tall forms glowing faintly in the blue light of crystals. One counselor spoke, his voice cold. "The humans have kept the creature." Another narrowed her shining eyes. "We abandoned it for a reason. That animal is not natural. Its design holds secrets of the ancients. If the humans learn to use it, they may find power that even we do not control." The leader raised his long hand. "Then we must not let that happen. Send hunters, watch the humans, and when the time is right, take the creature back, quietly if possible, with force if needed," the council agreed. Orders spread through the empire. The hunt had begun. The first pursuit, the Aurora's light, stopped near a green world filled with jungles. The crew wanted to gather supplies, fresh plants, water, and minerals. Rusty ran happily among the tall trees, barking at strange birds that flew overhead. For a moment it felt like peace, but peace did not last. From the sky above, sleek Zorath scout ships descended. Their weapons glowed faintly as they circled like predators. "Captain," Mara said quickly, "those aren't friendly. They're Zorath hunters." Elias tightened his jaw. "They're after Rusty." The crew hurried back to the ship. The scouts fired warning shots, blasting trees around them. Rusty growled, standing his ground. But Elias scooped him into his arms. "Not now, boy. We can't fight here. We run." The Aurora's light roared into the sky, chased by 3 Zorath ships. The humans worked together, dodging fire and pushing their small vessel to its limits. Rusty barked furiously at every hit that shook the ship. At last, by flying through a canyon of jagged cliffs, the humans escaped. The Zorath ships could not follow without crashing, but the message was clear. The Zorath knew where they were, and they would not stop. A question of worth later, when the danger passed, the crew sat in the control room. Rusty rested beside them, his sides still heaving from the excitement. "Why risk so much for a dog?" Mara asked quietly, though her hand stroked Rusty's fur as she spoke. "The galaxy thinks we're fools. They would trade him away or leave him behind." Elias looked at her firmly. "Because he's ours. We don't measure worth by beauty or power. We measure it by loyalty and heart. And this little one has more courage than most empires." Dr. Patel smiled softly. "Besides, maybe that's why the Zorath fear him. They see weakness. We see strength. Perhaps they are blind." Rusty wagged his tail as if agreeing. Other races take notice as the humans fled. Other alien races watched with curiosity. On distant stations and hidden worlds, traders and diplomats spoke of the hunt. Humans defend the dog against the Zorath themselves. They risk death for him. No other race would do that. Perhaps the legends of the ancients are true. Perhaps that creature carries their secret. Some races began to admire humans for their bravery. Others planned to take Rusty for themselves. Thus the hunt widened. Not only the Zorath, but also mercenaries, pirates, and rival empires joined the chase. Everywhere the Aurora's light traveled, eyes followed. Rusty's courage won night cycle. As the ship passed through an asteroid field, enemy raiders attacked. They were not Zorath, but pirates hoping to sell Rusty for a fortune. The battle shook the ship. Explosions lit the darkness outside. The crew struggled to keep shields up and weapons firing. Suddenly, Rusty ran to the front viewport. His small body stiffened. He gave a loud, echoing bark that seemed to vibrate through the ship. And then something strange happened. The asteroids around them shifted, moving as if guided. Several smashed into the pirate ships, crushing them before they could fire again. The path cleared, and the Aurora's light sped free. The crew stared in silence. Did Rusty just control the asteroids?" Mara whispered. Dr. Patel shook his head slowly. "Not control. But maybe he called to something old, something hidden in the stones. He awakens things we cannot understand." Elias bent down to Rusty. "Whatever you are, boy, you're full of surprises." Rusty wagged his tail proudly, then curled up to sleep, as if saving the crew from certain death was only part of a normal day. The galaxy whispers louder news of the event spread quickly. The dog destroyed pirate fleets. He can move the heavens, themselves. The humans guard a power that could change everything. The galaxy grew restless. Some wanted to ally with humans, hoping to share in their strange luck. Others prepared fleets to take Rusty by force. The humans, however, thought only of protecting their friend. A warning from an ally on a small neutral station. The crew met an old alien scholar named Tierra, whose people had studied ancient legends. His skin was dark green, his eyes large and thoughtful. He looked at Rusty with awe. "So the imperfect one lives. I thought it was only myth." Elias frowned. "What myth?" Tierra lowered his voice. "Long ago, before the Zorath Empire, there were star builders. They shaped worlds and forged suns. They loved all life, even those considered weak. It is said they left behind keys to their greatest works, but only creatures of pure loyalty and heart could awaken them. The Zorath feared this. That is why they erase imperfection. They fear what it may unlock." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. Rusty licked Tierra's hand as if thanking him for the truth. "Be careful, humans," Tierra warned. "The galaxy will not forgive you for holding such a secret. But remember, sometimes the smallest heart can shake the stars." The final pursuit begins. The Zorath Council learned of the pirates' failure in Tierra's words. They no longer hid their anger. No more games, the leader said. Send the fleets. We will crush the humans and take back the beast. Let the galaxy see our power. Massive warships prepared. Armies gathered. The hunt was no longer secret. It was open war. Back on the Aurora's light, Elias felt the tension in the air. He looked at his crew, then at Rusty, who rested at his feet. They're coming for us, Elias said quietly. But they don't understand. They think he's a weapon. He's more than that. He's proof of what they'll never have, compassion. Rusty lifted his head and gave a single bark, as if promising he would not let his family fall. The galaxy was about to ignite. And at the center of it all stood one small, wrinkled, loyal dog, and the humans who refused to let him go. The Aurora's light drifted quietly in deep space, but peace was an illusion. Every member of the crew felt the weight of what was coming. The Zorath Empire had declared the humans enemies. Fleets were moving. The galaxy whispered with fear and curiosity. At the heart of it all was Rusty, the little dog who slept curled in the corner of the command deck. His breathing was soft, his body small, but the crew knew he carried something far bigger than any of them could explain. Captain Elias sat in his chair, staring out at the stars. Mara stood beside him, her hands resting on the back of the seat. Dr. Patel studied reports on his datapad. The ship was calm, yet their thoughts were heavy. They won't stop, Mara said at last. The Zorath will chase us until they take him or destroy us. Elias nodded slowly. Then we need to know why. We need to know the truth about him. If Rusty is carrying some secret of the ancients, it's time we find it before they do. The Starforge's call. Rusty lifted his head as if he understood. His ears twitched and he gave a soft bark. Then he padded to the main viewport and stared at a patch of stars. His eyes shone with unusual brightness. Dr. Patel frowned. He's pointing somewhere. Elias checked the charts. The direction was toward a system almost forgotten, marked only as Ankara 9. Few ships ever traveled there. It was said to hold ruins from before the age of the Zorath. Set a course, Elias ordered. We'll follow his lead. The Aurora's light jumped into faster-than-light travel. Days passed as the stars stretched into rivers of light. During the journey, Rusty grew restless. Sometimes he barked at empty corners of the ship. Sometimes he howled softly, and the sound seemed to vibrate in the metal walls. The crew felt it deep in their bones, as if the ship itself was listening. Finally, they arrived. Ankara 9 was a dying system with a dim sun and shattered planets. Among the broken rocks floated a massive structure, larger than a moon. Its shape was strange, like a ring woven with towers. Faint lights pulsed on its surface, though no one had touched it for millions of years. By the stars, Mara whispered. That's no ruin. That's a forge. A star forge, Dr. Patel added. Legends said the star builders made them to shape suns and worlds. Rusty barked excitedly. His tail wagged as he pawed at the viewport. He wanted to go there. The entrance awakened. The Aurora's light docked at a broken platform near the forge. The humans stepped onto the ancient metal ground, their boots echoing softly. The air was thin but breathable, as if the structure had repaired itself just enough to allow life. The gates of the forge were sealed. Symbols glowed faintly on their surface, the same as those they had seen on earlier ruins. The crew tried scanners, but the doors remained shut. Then Rusty trotted forward. He sat in front of the massive gate, lifted his head and gave a long, deep howl. The sound carried through the forge like thunder. The glowing symbols brightened, then blazed with light. Slowly, with a rumble that shook the ground, the gates opened. The crew followed Rusty inside. The heart of the forge. The interior was vast, filled with pillars of light and rivers of glowing energy. Machines older than any empire stretched into the distance, humming softly as if waking from a long sleep. Rusty ran ahead, his paws silent on the shining floor. Wherever he stepped, lights flared to life. Pathways opened. Doors unlocked. At last they reached the central chamber. A great sphere floated in the air, made of crystal and energy. It pulsed like a beating heart. Rusty walked to the edge and sat down. The sphere responded. Images filled the chamber. Stars forming, worlds rising, ancient beings shaping galaxies with gentle hands. The humans watched in awe. Dr. Patel whispered, "This is history." The star builders left their memory here. The images shifted. They showed the Star Builders creating animals not for beauty or strength, but for loyalty. They shaped creatures that could bond with others, creatures that carried their codes within their blood. These creatures were not meant to rule or fight. They were meant to guide, to awaken the forges when the time was right. The last image showed one of these creatures, small and wrinkled with bright eyes full of trust. It was Rusty, or rather one like him made millions of years ago. The truth was clear. Rusty was not an accident. He was the key, Rusty's secret. The crew stood in silence as the sphere dimmed. Rusty wagged his tail and barked once as if to say, "Now you know." Mara knelt beside him, tears in her eyes. "They abandoned you because they thought you were ugly. But you're part of the oldest secret in the galaxy. You're proof that loyalty and heart can shape the stars." Elias placed his hand on the dog's head. "The Zorath feared you because you remind them of what they lost. They built an empire on pride, but the Star Builders built galaxies on compassion." Dr. Patel added softly, "And we're the first to see it in millions of years." Rusty barked again, proud and happy. The Zorath arrived, but the moment of peace did not last. Outside, the dark of space lit up with new shapes. Zorath warships, dozens of them, surrounding the forge. The comms crackled with a cold voice. "Humans, surrender the creature. You cannot win. Give him to us and we may let you live." Elias stared at the ships on the screen. His crew looked at him, waiting for his answer. Rusty stood at his side, growling softly. Elias spoke firmly. "We don't abandon family. If you want him, you'll have to come through us." The Zorath ships prepared weapons. Rusty's power revealed before the battle began. Rusty stepped forward. His eyes glowed faintly with the same light as the forge. He lifted his head and howled. The forge answered. Energy poured from the great sphere, spreading through the structure. Beams of light shot into space, wrapping around the human ship. Shields of ancient power formed, stronger than anything the Zorath had seen. The warships fired, but their blasts dissolved against the glowing barrier. Rusty barked again, and the forge sent out another wave. This time it was not an attack. It was a message. Across the galaxy, signals carried the images from the forge. Billions of beings saw the truth. The Star Builders had trusted small, loyal creatures to guard their greatest works. The Zorath had lied for ages, hiding imperfection, when imperfection was the true key. Aliens everywhere gasped. The story of the ugly dog was no longer rumor. It was truth. The choice inside the forge, Elias and his crew watched Rusty with awe. He stood proudly, his tail wagging as the light of the forge shone around him. Mara whispered, "He isn't just our pet. He's the symbol of something greater." Elias nodded. "He's proof that what others throw away may be the most important of all." Rusty barked happily, his eyes glowing. The galaxy had changed overnight. The signal from the Star Forge spread faster than any fleet could travel. Billions of screens, transmitters, and memory crystals showed the same truth. The ancients had chosen creatures like Rusty to guard their greatest secrets. For centuries, the Zorath Empire had ruled through fear and lies. They claimed strength came only from perfection. They erased what they called weak or ugly. Now all species saw their mistake. The smallest, most loyal creature was the true key to the galaxy's greatest power. On the forge, the Aurora's light floated under the shield Rusty had awakened. The Zorath warship surrounded them, furious but uncertain. Captain Elias stood tall on the command deck. Mara and Dr. Patel stood beside him. Rusty lay calmly at his feet, his chest rising and falling. He had done what no human could. He had broken the Zorath's lie, the Zorath commander's threat. The comms hissed again. A tall Zorath commander appeared on the screen. His scaled face twisted with anger. "You humans have poisoned the galaxy with false visions. Hand over the creature or we will erase you in the forge." Elias did not move. "The galaxy has seen the truth. Even if you destroy us, you can't destroy what everyone now knows." The commander's eyes narrowed. "Then you will suffer first." The Zorath fleet charged their weapons. Energy filled the black sky, glowing like storms waiting to strike. Rusty lifted his head. His eyes glowed again, faint but steady. He barked once and the forge's light pulsed in response. The forge awakens, the Star Forge came alive. Towers lit up, rivers of energy blazed, and the shield around the humans grew brighter. The ground trembled beneath their feet as if the entire forge had been waiting for this moment. Dr. Patel gasped. "It's responding to Rusty. He isn't just the key, he's the guide. He can tell the Forge what to do. Mara placed her hand on Rusty's back. Then he's our only chance. Rusty barked again, louder this time. The Forge sent beams of light across the battlefield. They weren't weapons, they were messages. The beams struck the Zorath ships, and instead of burning, they showed visions. The crews inside saw the history of the ancients, the creation of life, and the purpose of loyalty. Some Zorath lowered their weapons, shaken by what they saw. Others ignored it, firing their cannons in rage. The blasts hit the shield, shaking the Aurora's light but not breaking it. Elias tightened his grip on the chair. Rusty, whatever you're doing, keep doing it. Hope across the stars while the battle raged, messages flooded across the galaxy. Species from distant corners sent words of support. Some rebel fleets rose against Zorath control. Others whispered that if humans could protect the ancient secret, then maybe humanity deserved a place among the stars. On the Aurora's light, communications filled the screens. A lizard-like race called the Trillic sent a signal. We will not kneel to the Zorath anymore. Your small guardian has given us courage. The winged Orathians declared, the truth is out. The Empire has lied. We will fight beside those who carry the Forge's light. Even inside Zorath space, rebels sent whispers. We have seen. We will rise. Elias read the signals with a heavy heart. The galaxy is waking up. But if we fall here, the Zorath might still crush it. Rusty's choice, the Zorath fleet tightened their circle. The commander returned on screen, his voice sharp. You think a dog can save you? You are fools. We will take the Forge and wipe your species from memory. Rusty stood up. He walked to the center of the deck. His eyes shone so bright the crew had to shield their gaze. He barked, and the Forge obeyed. Energy surged outward, wrapping not just the human ship but the entire system. The dying sun brightened. The broken planets pulled into new paths, and the Forge roared like a living star. Dr. Patel whispered, He's rewriting the system. He's protecting us with the power of the ancients. But Rusty's body trembled. The light drained his strength. Mara knelt beside him, tears filling her eyes. Don't push too hard. We need you alive. Rusty licked her hand and wagged his tail weakly. He understood the cost. The turning point. The Zorath ships attacked again, but many of their crews hesitated. Some shut down their weapons. Some even turned against their commanders. The truth they had seen shook their loyalty. The Zorath commander shouted in fury, but his fleet was crumbling. The galaxy had seen too much. His empire's power was built on lies, and lies could not stand forever. Elias gave his crew a firm nod. Hold the line. Rusty has given us more than a shield, he's given us hope. Rusty howled one final time. The Forge answered with a storm of light. It did not destroy, it revealed. Every ship, every soldier, every watcher across the stars felt the same vision. A small, wrinkled dog standing proud among giants. Not perfect, not powerful, but loyal, and loyalty was stronger than fear. The fall of silence, the battlefield went quiet. Zorath ships drifted, their weapons offline. Some fled into the dark. Others surrendered. The commander's ship remained, trembling under the pressure of a truth he could not deny. You cannot win, he whispered, more to himself than to anyone else. Elias answered calmly. We already have. The commander cut the channel. His ship vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind a broken fleet and a galaxy no longer blind. A new dawn, the Forge slowly dimmed, its duty complete. Rusty collapsed gently on the deck, exhausted. Mara scooped him into her arms, hugging him close. His eyes fluttered, but he wagged his tail once, happy and proud. Dr. Patel placed his hand on the console. This place will stand as a symbol. The ancients trusted loyalty above pride, and we must do the same. Elias looked at his crew. The galaxy is watching us now. We must lead with courage, not fear. Rusty showed us the way. Rusty gave a soft bark, almost like agreement, before curling up and falling into a deep, peaceful sleep. Echoes across the galaxy, in the days that followed, news spread like wildfire. The humans became known not as weak newcomers, but as the keepers of the Forge. Races once divided began to talk of unity. Small rebellions grew into full movements. The phrase whispered everywhere was simple. Even the smallest can guard the greatest. On distant worlds, children played pretending to be Rusty. Soldiers carried his image on their armor. Entire species began questioning the lies they had been told. The Zorath Empire still stood, but cracks had opened in its walls. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy felt hope. The crew's promise back on the Aurora's light. The crew gathered around Rusty. He slept in his corner, snoring softly. Mara smiled. He doesn't even know he changed the galaxy. Dr. Patel chuckled. Or maybe he does, and he's just too modest to brag. Elias looked at the stars outside the viewport. Whatever comes, we'll face it together. Rusty reminded us that humanity's strength is not in size or weapons. It's in loyalty, in standing by those who need us. Rusty stirred in his sleep, wagging his tail as if he heard. The legend of Rusty years later, bards and historians would tell the story again and again. They would speak of the day the galaxy saw the truth. They would speak of humans who refused to surrender. But most of all, they would speak of Rusty, the little dog no one wanted who became the guardian of the stars. He was not perfect. He was not powerful, but he was loyal. And in the end, loyalty was enough to shock the galaxy forever.